the same thing that would be educational for Genius Garage. So you're right, if we found that type of project, it would work.
Oh my gosh, it's recording. Oh, what's up, guys? Look who I got.
Hello.
Ed Bolian, Wiki, if you couldn't tell already from the shirt or knowing him. So I'm down in Atlanta in the Viper, and he's a giraffe, so he doesn't fit at all.
Not so well.
How tall are you?
6'5", so I don't think that's who they had in mind.
No, but you got you got a bubble here.
I do have a bubble, so it just looks like my head's...
Do you know what I love most about this, Ed?
What's that?
It screws up your beautiful hair.
I don't know about that, but it definitely screws up whatever's up there.
That was a passive-aggressive type.
I see that.
We're
going to shave it soon for
All right, how do I get out of this? Here for us.
There we go.
So yeah, man, thanks for having me down.
Anytime. Always enjoy the stories. Glad to see your channel growing.
I appreciate that.
Yes.
It's exciting.
Well deserved. We talked about early on when you came on and started telling Wiki Stories that it was so nice that when you package a tale of your past, that it involves some really nice takeaway, a feel-good message of impact, opportunity, and other things like that. And that's important. I mean, I think that there's so much in terms out there's so much out there, and that's just so self-aggrandizing and just content for content's sake. If there's actually some value there, I think it's a game changer.
I think maybe that's just a nice way of saying, hey kids, here's how I screwed up everything in the past, and I tried really hard and somehow got over it, but it'll be all right.
I think so. But I'm glad to see good messages coming out there, and always entertained by your tales of wonder.
Well, yeah. Well, the reason I went that way, honestly, was a conversation you and I had, because when I had done some of the Wiki stories, and I think one was Genius Garage related, how the students, we all overcame some kind of adversity in the end, and just having a little message, and I didn't think much of it, but in the comments, that really meant something to them. Yeah. And I said to you, it surprised me, because the Wiki fans are, they're super positive. I mean, it's a great community.
Yes, that's the best thing about the channel, is that people are happy to be nice.
Yeah, for sure. But the other thing too was that meeting actually meant something to people on the internet. And you told me something to the effect of, well, Casey, there's no meaning on the internet. So when people find that, they like it.
Yeah, it's definitely not what they're encountering on a daily basis.
True.
So how has the Wiki exposure changed Genius Garage? I mean, I got to think that the people who have heard about Genius Garage in the last 18 months compared to the people that heard about it in the prior 5 years, I mean, it's a massive swing.
Well, it's been a huge help. And going back to the story, I remember the first time you and I got together, actually it was one of my students, Austin Wright, who we met, who connected us, because he's like, dude, you gotta be Casey, he's got ridiculous stories.
Perfect.
So we connected, and I was actually driving to Florida to pick up the BD5 microjet that was donated to KIT for students.
Yes.
So came by your place and told some stories. And frankly, when I was doing this, I started watching all your stories. When I came to know Wiki beforehand, I was thinking to myself, whoa, some people tell some pretty edgy stories. And I'm teaching and leading a nonprofit. Okay, so I should, I want to tell fun stories. There was a certain thing that made me a little nervous to tell fun car stories. You know what I mean? Because you get used to the internet scrutinizing and wanting to be at you and all.
Right.
And I just wanted to be a car guy like everybody else and have fun. But I saw the value for Genius Garage.
Yeah.
And frankly, that was the biggest reason why I wanted to come tell stories, because I thought it'd be a great way to let the world know and young people know what we're doing. And then they can be the deciding factor on, hey, do we think this is a great thing?
Sure. Well, I mean, I got to imagine that it has done that, right? I mean,
so
you got the exposure. So what kinds of, where is that going to take Genius Garage?
Well, the thing that's exciting about it is the internet age and social media is so powerful for younger demographics.
Right.
I mean, under the age of 45 especially, and under, which is not the demographics as media, TV, magazines, things like that.
Right.
And that kind of demographics, and now really prides, should I go right?
Yeah.
Okay, really is all about being genuine and really doing something. And they saw that with Genius Garage. So it's created a huge following, people getting behind it. I even had one young man see the first episode of Genius Garage on VinWiki, told his dad about it because one of my students got hired by Tesla.
Right.
And his dad was a manager at one of the Tesla plants.
Oh, sweet.
Ends up flying out to the middle of nowhere, Ohio, where we're at. I'm like, you realize I only have like 20 students here right now. He's like, no, Genius Garage is amazing. So big wig at Tesla flies out to come meet the students, spends a whole day with them, driving the cars, going to dinner. At the end of the day, gives the Genius Garage students his cell phone number and says, I know what it takes for you to be an engineer at Genius Garage, and if Casey trusts you to do that, I trust you to be an engineer at Tesla. Gave them his cell phone number.
Whoa!
So I think that proves just how powerful the platform is in the message, and it's exciting to me as a person and a car guy and a mentor and a leader that you can go out and tell a real story and be a real person and care about something in people, and that the world likes that and good things come about it.
Well, that's the goal. I mean, that's that's the outcome that obviously I know you set out to achieve. So as you get this stronger sphere of influence and more people approaching you, I mean, where do you think that takes the next steps of Genius Garage curriculum or programming?
Right. Well, the first thing is I've got kids all around the world that want to come do this.
Yeah.
I mean, ready to fly from other countries right now to do this. And Genius Garage, as you know, we've got the automotive engineering related stuff that relates to a racing team, because that's a really good crucible, forging trial-by-hour team,
Yeah.
and building young people for industry as well as engineers.
Right.
We're also doing the aerospace, building airplanes, same basic formula with that, doing some design as well. But it's, for me, as the leader of the organization, we've got all the young people that want to come do this, and we got a valued industry, and it's starting to connect it. But also, frankly, the business of it, the logistics, how do you build the organization with
Right.
the PR? What do you do? What kind of cars do we maybe build or race? What kind of builds do we do? How
Car
are they
parts ain't
relevant
free.
to the world? What do you think?
Well, I mean, I've got to imagine that you're getting approached by, not just the prospective students, but also the other philanthropists that want to
You're right. Yeah.
want to sort of adopt and nurture the vision as their own, right?
Definitely. And that came about, the VinWiki crowd really got all the young people in the world. They're like, wow, this is it. And then when I started doing my own channel, then shall we say, the bigger wigs, the philanthropists,
Right.
industry people, leaders, media people were like, whoa, this is something, this guy's going somewhere.
Right.
So there's opportunities to do more media. There's opportunities to connect, and it's exciting. But of course, you're at that, or you, me, we, we're at that moment of like, okay, where do we go from here?
Right, exactly. Well, I mean, I think that's great. The problem that I think you're going to have is that anytime you build something that people are willing to get behind,
Sugar left.
yeah, then you end up sort of becoming beholden to their vision if they actually are willing to participate, right? So if
Good
you've
point.
got people who are saying, all right, I want to give you some money, I want to be a mentor, I want to be an advisor, I want to be a board member, whatever the proposal is, like, you got to make sure that they see what you're doing and that they're not just along for the entertaining part of the ride, right? I mean, obviously it makes a good impact, but it's also a fun curriculum for the same reason that it attracts young people. It's going to attract people with money because, hey, if they get to go out to the track and see what you're doing and stuff like that. So, I don't know, I mean, but at the same time, there's got to be a whole spectrum of things that you believe Genius Garage can become, right?
Oh, for sure, yeah. And we've talked about that in different ways briefly. For me being that leader type vision guy, I always think big vision. Where's this going? What is it?
Right.
You know what I mean? And sometimes I have to come back down and think, oh, where are we now? And getting
Sure,
there.
sure.
But yeah, I mean, obviously, automotive engineering, aerospace engineering, design, connecting manufacturers, a talent pool, complement to education, a major draw for really young people to come somewhere around the world.
Right. Well, and most of the time, a charity starts with money and becomes the vision.
Right.
You did it backwards, and you started with the vision.
I'm going to change the world, right?
And have had to find the money.
Yeah.
And so, how is that going?
Well, I mean, it's tough.
Right.
It takes a heck of a lot of grit to do that.
Right.
And you really got to believe in what you're doing. I can tell you it's exponentially better with exposure and the world seeing.
Well,
it.
sure, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, even a lot of philanthropic donations are still viewership driven.
Yes.
And I think, you know, fortunately, among the things VinWiki's YouTube channel has done is it's given a platform for stuff like that.
Indeed.
So, but I think, I mean, when you actually think about racing, where does the money really come from?
Well, yeah, in a professional racing world, and it's sponsorship dollars and driven, that is exposure.
Yeah, but how legitimate are those sponsorship dollars?
Great point. And who is in it and why? What is in your experience with it?
So I've actually, this is one of those stories that I
was
have
doing
always...
the kindergarten or the 101 class version of it.
Well, I've always wanted to find a storyteller who could really peel back the nature of big race team financing.
Shine the flashlight in their shadows.
Exactly,
so
because like, yeah, we're sponsored by Aaron's, but the driver's the founder of Aaron's kid. Right.
It's
So
the CEO.
is that a sponsorship or is that a
is that a hobby?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that in most cases that, you know, the drivers are bringing the sponsors.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think if you look at racing from your ability to create a microcosm that can be packaged for an internship or an educational platform,
correct,
you've got to show these kids that it's not just about how you can drive, how you can build, what
frankly,
you can
in a 6-month
find.
program, we've gone to 2 racing events in the past.
Right.
Because Genius Garage is built to be an engineering and design-based internship of business and life. It just happens to be that a racing team is the perfect model to do that in that time frame for young people.
Right, but you've got the car and the engineering and the venue to execute.
Yes.
But have you done the business?
Not as well.
All right, so if we look at the ways that manufacturers or individuals have financed racing operations, they do it in 2 ways.
Yes.
They
historically
they either build road cars or they go out raising
Ferrari.
money. Right, like yeah, exactly.
He didn't care about
Enzo
road cars
hated
so much.
building road cars. He had to, and he did, and it worked for him. But it wasn't why he started Ferrari.
Right.
He started it to go racing, and whether or not, I'm not saying that you started Genius Garage to go racing, but you started Genius Garage knowing that racing was the perfect way to introduce kids to this thing in a way that was way bigger than themselves.
Well, and as an example, universities across the world have a smaller program formed the SAE, which is a racing-based engineering thing. I just saw that and wanted to do something bigger level, more real world, more collected to industry.
Sure, yeah. Formula SAE is a brilliant concept, but a very known entity, right? Mm-hmm. So you've got that. So maybe you guys need to build a road car.
I've thought about that, actually.
Well, I mean, you've got mechanical ability.
Sure.
You've got space to do it. You've got the connections, and you're building the exposure, right? So if I don't know that it's like your Omega car.
Well, and that crosses over nicely to engineering and manufacture anyway, because that's theoretically what they're doing, but you still have the excitement for young people of building their own prototype, potentially testing it.
Well, now, within the 501c3 that Genius Garage is, what happens if you guys reconditioned a car, rebuilt a car, built a car, and it becomes valuable? That money can't be taken by anybody. It would just go back in and be future funding, right?
501c3 is an entity that exists for the sake of education and nonprofit. It's not a business entity that, like, I can sell. I don't own it. I'm just like the guide of it. You know what I'm saying?
All right.
But Genius Garage owns its own race cars and airplanes.
And charities can make money.
Correct. If we sell one of those things and we sold it for more than we have in it, well, then Genius Garage is better off.
Right.
So, indeed, if we were able to build something, do it well, the world liked it, maybe we got with an auction or something, and did really well selling it, then that could be a great leap up of both exposure and the next egg for the next year to go.
Okay, so which was just exactly the model we're talking about. Like, you create revenue from a road car to fund race cars.
Right, and in the meantime, you might have, if students are wanting to build an airplane, somebody knows that, you've got the facility, and there are other neat things going on also. Right. But that can be a great sort of means to end in starting, but also fit in with the complement of everything that we're doing educationally.
So it's interesting because, like, the outcome we're talking about is also what drives most of YouTube, right? Is car builds lately. Everybody wants to build a road car.
You know, it's funny you say that, because I thought to myself, I'm like, well, geez, these YouTubers are just buying some junk Gallardo and fixing it up. I'm like, well,
well, we talked about that with like...
It's kind of bigger than that, but I was like...
Well, it is, but what you have to learn in racing, I guess, is that nothing's beneath you.
Right.
Right? Pandering to sponsors or doing that. So you could almost do it in two ways. Like, you could find whatever the road car build is.
True.
But then you could also have like traditional fundraising, like you could host a gala dinner, and so you could bring in
definitely.
Genius Garage interns that are non-technical.
I might have to get out of the Toledo, Ohio area.
Well, maybe, but
it sort of hurts
the
glamour,
sexy
right?
world of PR in Toledo, Ohio.
Uh-huh.
But I think if you had people who knew, like, all right, somebody's got to manage these sponsor relationships. Someone's got to build the packaging and stuff. So I think you need Genius Garage business interns.
I agree.
As much as you need technical skill, and maybe it's almost a year off of racing.
Oh, this is interesting. Okay.
So that you can do the fundraising, because that's not uncommon at all. I mean, I was watching.
And frankly, in the last year, you may have noticed, instead of doing the big teams, I had individual students that came from around the country that focus on projects, which frankly gave me a little bit more time as a leader and a mentor, because they were slightly more autonomous, and I could build PR and build it up. So that makes a lot of sense. And frankly, with Genius Garage, with the students, it's not just engineering. I want them to learn from the business of everything that's going on and see the big picture. It makes them better in the future.
Well, and for them to understand that in most cases, you're not responsible for your opportunity to go racing. Whether it's mommy and daddy's money or it's sponsor money.
Or starting a business or
anything. It only works when there is cash flowing.
Right. Same thing with airplanes. They're not going up in the air unless whatever it is that you're part of has got the means to do it.
So I think we got to look out for the right road car. You know, we had talked months ago about
that's tricky.
Reconditioning Ferrari challenge cars.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Those are
that wasn't necessarily Genius Garage specific. That was
a real business. Like the fact that 360 and 355 challenge cars that are not road legal are not valuable.
By the way, you like this air conditioning?
I was going to say, this is top functionality?
Yeah, it doesn't work anymore.
Okay.
I drove down here with the loud exhaust and the windows open, and when I got down, I was deaf.
I noticed you weren't responsive when I was
speaking loudly.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay. All right, yeah, it doesn't work. I thought it might be off.
Does your Mercy air conditioning work?
Final, yes.
Okay.
They stopped producing the evaporators for Mercies, and so the only way to get them now if they fail is to buy them out of crashed cars.
Oh.
And Mercies, they don't tend to crash because other people ran into them.
Okay.
They tend to crash on their own. And that usually means they hit things.
And by on your own, you mean the guy pulling the trigger.
There we go. Okay, yes. And so they run into stuff that damages the evaporator, so they're kind of hard to find. So finally, I was able to find one at a reasonable price.
I got a sidetrack. But cars. So to do a build, so for instance, Tavares, you just did the Murcielago, right?
Right. Yeah.
And that's pretty cool. But how often can you find a ragged out Murcielago to build, right?
Well, and it has to be the right kind of ragged out, right? Because and to be, if I'm totally honest, that car was beyond functional. It was not. Really, it wasn't a car. It was a decoration when I found it and he bought it. Yeah, it was. Wow. It was not worth trying to bring back now. But at the same time, what was interesting for viewers on YouTube was the same thing that would be educational for Genius Garage. So you're right. If we found that type of project, it would work.
Hopefully something fast.
And it would be nice to, it would be nice if we could find something fast, I guess. So I don't know.
But you're right. So Murcielagos are big. Everybody did Gallardos. It's not like you can just go out and buy where are we going to find a wrecked Bugatti, right? What the heck do you get?
I don't know. I mean, and it's not just a high horsepower build. We'll actually take the next exit probably. Okay. And I don't think you just want to build something that's fast. I mean, you could put 2,000 horsepower in this thing.
Yeah, but that's just a Viper with too much horsepower.
Exactly. So I don't think that's the answer. I think I don't know.
It's a tough one. Yeah, there's a lot of YouTubers out there doing a lot of builds.
Well, and that's the problem for Freddie. It's the problem for me buying cars. Like, I probably am only faced with the chance to buy 2, 3, 4 cars a year that are that work for me, which is generally terrible condition but mechanically solid, exotic car that's rare and not fully understood.
Right. Well, and for the sake of Genius Garage, I did professional level road racing cars in the past because they're very high technology level and a great place to learn.
Right.
But that doesn't necessarily have a broader public appeal with media and doing videos, because who can really relate to a champ car or a Le Mans prototype?
And I think that's the problem with your planes, to be quite honest with you, is
because
like
who relates to airplanes?
Nobody thinks of like I'm going to go out and buy an airplane. Every young person watching this is thinking, man, I'd love to own Freddie's Mercy,
right,
or his Gallardo, or Sam Crack's 360, or any of these things. I mean, that was Doug DeMuro's early ethos, was this: I'm going to buy a car that seems unownable in a way that was, with these bumper-to-bumper warranties.
Oh, okay.
And
wasn't like his first car a 360?
Yep, he bought a stick 360 Modena and brought it on one of our mountain drives, and it was awesome. He'd already had one E63 wagon. He had an Elise. He had the Vantage came later.
Well, and the other thing about thinking of this, and pardon me for interrupting, with regard to Genius Garage is a big engineering thing to be for for industry, to do high level stuff. That's why I want to do race cars. The trouble is with so many of these cars, if we just get some exotic car and modify it or fix it up, that's not at that level.
Okay. Well,
we would almost have to like completely redesign the car or build a prototype, and that's a huge undertaking too.
Yeah, and,
so
and also not relatable, so it's not going to accomplish. You also do need legitimate impressions. That's what racing's all about.
Correct.
For sponsors. That's what YouTube's all about. That's what wherever you're finding the impressions, like, it's got to be suitable for the audience. And I don't think it's a kid car.
As an example, I did a really neat motorcycle build a long time ago, where I wanted it to be kind of like a pre-World War II history Triumph base, and I had machine guns similar to the Batmobile on it. So it was like, I wanted to do this kind of alternate history, fictitious characters. A beautiful bike build. It was really neat. It was gorgeous. It functioned well, but nobody cared. And then one day I realized, well, it fits the same history, demographics, and style as steampunk. So I just called it Steampunk Triumph. Then people cared. It was the same thing.
So yeah, well, that's marketing. Is how you package a real thing that makes people hop on board. And so, I mean, you know, something like a Tesla into another car swap would work. Like, you find a crashed Tesla, you put the powertrain.
Yes.
Because I think coach building Teslas is the divergence of like autonomous subscription cars, right? Like, because a Tesla is a very modular platform. You could just put whatever on top of it. And there's a lot of things like that you could take a known, not crazy thing.
Or if that'll blow out our audio. It's getting warm in here, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. Probably getting a little shiny.
Now, you have a great point. Actually, I thought about Teslas seem to be cars that total out pretty easily.
Right.
So I feel like there's a lot of salvage Teslas, and if you were smart to harvest the good guts or whatnot, you could do something. I thought about...
Just go straight.
Oh, straight?
Then we'll make a right to the next one.
Okay.
So yeah, you could harvest a Tesla carcass and put a really pretty body on top of it. Like all these new electric cars that we saw at Pebble Beach are either built on Fiskars, Teslas, or Rimacs.
Oh, are they really?
All of them. Yeah. So,
I thought about doing like race car replicas and stuff. Those like Loyalty 70s and Porsche 917s.
Yes.
I thought about getting like a Porsche 917 emulation roller where the body's exact, and doing something like that might be neat. But at the same time too, if you do that, how is that relevant, and how does it better forward Genius Garage and the students?
Right. No, I get that. Well, the other thing I think you need to do is you got to figure out, if you just want to park in one of these parallel spots, we might just go to lunch here. The other thing I think you got to work on is get your marketing interns to end up packaging it all for legit sponsors, either from a YouTube sponsor perspective or from a bigger funding for Genius Garage perspective.
Well, the other thing good for them and everybody involved with something like that, if you get the right formula and going well, the exposure alone, obviously it's good for the organization, but it's huge for the students too.
Oh, sure. I mean,
because they would be building their social media presence and their value, and employers would be seeing them and what they're doing, and they might not even have to ever give the resume to anybody.
well, they're demonstrating a broader breadth of engineering capability. It's not just race cars, which are fundamentally should be easy to maintain. I
Right,
mean,
they're not just a
you're
cubicle
solving
SolidWorks stacking.
true production level problems, managing to whatever legality, safety things.
Sure.
So I think if you rolled out a program like a chapter of Genius Garage history of like, all right, we're going to explore road cars from a sake of we need to build real value so that the outcome is that we funded the next opportunity for Genius Garage, but also we're going to bring on business side people who are going to use that engineering capability towards the benefit of from marketing, business, exposure,
definitely.
impressions.
And like
idea.
you said, it's just a broader reach and making a far more well-rounded young person that's going to the workforce.
That's the idea.
Future execs. Tell you what, you want to get lunch, catch these guys later, and then take me for Ed and the Mercy?
Absolutely.
All right, I'll see you guys next time with Ed and the Mercy. Like, comment, and subscribe.
Thanks
See you
for
guys.
watching.